Hey guys, it's Alice. Welcome back to my channel. It's been so long since I filmed a video with a tripod in front of my bookshelf. Is she back? I don't know. Does she read again? Maybe. If you haven't met me before, hi, my name is Alice. It's a Sunday morning. I don't have long until church starts. I've got coffee. Dad microwaved it though, because so I don't know if it's a bit too hot. No, that's good. Today's video is going to be, I don't know how I'm going to title it yet. It's like a wrap up, but instead of it being monthly, it's just what I've read so far for 2020. From January, February, March, April, this is what I have read, and I feel like maybe I'm back on my book reading grind. I don't know. I had a book slump for like a year, but maybe I'm back. If you want to know what I've read 10 books technically. I now need to get my phone to go find them all. So yeah, if you want to see what I've read and hear me talk about it, keep watching. So not all of the books I have here physically. That's either because I might have left them in Brighton, which is where I was at uni before this whole virus thing. I'm back home now with my big bookshelf. Also, I haven't mentioned this in a video for a while, but I get red rashes on my neck. Oh, the lighting changed. I get red rashes on my neck. We don't know why. I'm fine. It's not an allergic reaction to anything we know. I just get it every day. I'm just gonna, just run through all the books I've read, basically. Hee. Should I like pick them out, the ones that I have? God, loads of them really aren't here. Stay. That's a Taylor Swift song. Oh, I do have that. Ta-da! First book I read. We're talking about this as an honorary mention because I finished this like 3 days before the start of the new year. Sorry about the lighting, by the way. I started reading this in February 2019 and didn't finish it until the end of December 2019. Sarah J Maas book put me in a reading slump just because like the pure size of them. This is nearly 1,000 pages, like traumatizing. I'm pretty sure I gave it 5 stars though because I'm obsessed with all of her books and her series, and there's not really anything I can tell you about this book because it is the 6th book in a series. But this whole series is incredible. I got very overwhelmed by the fact it was 1,000 pages. Honorary mention because I'm so proud I finally got that read. That series is now done. Yeah, this fat beast of a book, one of my proudest accomplishments. Yeah. Now onto the actual books that I read. Okay, so the first book I read, I think I read right at the start of the new year because this is actually my mum's. She let me read it and then she just never took it back from me, so actually that's a lie, I think I tried to give it back to her and she left it in my room somewhere, so to me I was like, okay, that's been donated to my cause. It is The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse by Charlie Mackesy, and everybody and their mother is raving about this book. It was like the Waterstones book of the year or something ridiculous like that, and I follow him on Instagram and I repost so many of these on Instagram. This is one of the best books. I flew through it in like a single sitting. It's just all about love and kindness and friendship and so many beautiful things, but it's just these beautiful little illustrations, and it's like being kind to yourself is one of the greatest kindnesses, said them all. Oh, and I love the horse. The horse is my favourite. Sometimes, said the horse. Sometimes what? Asked the boy. Sometimes just getting up and carrying on is brave and magnificent. If I had to recommend to you one book that's like gonna change your life or just like make you feel so much better, this makes me feel so much better about everything and about myself and about being enough, you know, as a person, and this is just incredible. So please read this. 5 stars, obviously. Next book I don't have here because it's in Brighton, but I read The Longest Ride by Nicola, and I gave that 5 stars. I basically went through a phase in February where I watched the movie The Longest Ride like every day for about 2 weeks. I was obsessed with it. I was fully obsessed with it, and the movie was like 2 hours and 7 minutes long, and I made everybody watch it, and I loved it so much. And so I saw the movie and I was like, I'm buying the book. So I bought the book and I read it. Baffling for me. I think that the movie is incredible. I'm glad I read the book as well, but I don't think one is necessarily better than the other. I think because I've watched the movie so many times, I probably prefer that. It's basically about this girl who was at university. She's like I don't want to say art history major, she's something like that, and she meets this bull rider called Luke, and he is the dream. And it's basically just their love story, but it's paralleled with a love story. Ira and Ruth, oh my god, my heart. They fell in love, right, in I think the Second World War, just before the Second World War, I don't know. She came over from Vienna, and it basically ends up so that Ira from the older love story ends up crossing paths with the two younger ones. I just think it's one of the most beautiful romance books I've ever read, and I'm not normally like a romance book gal. It's probably one of the first adult romances I've read. Oh, but it just brings me all of the like the romantic like feels. It's just, if you want a good romance book to just completely dive into and fall in love with the characters and like, that is your one. That is your one that you want. I'm telling you right now, that's the one you want. That was again 5 stars. The next book I read was, finally catching up on some booktube trends, The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. When did I read that? Started at the end of February. I've obviously heard about this book for such a long time on booktube, and once I think I finished Longest Ride, I was like, okay, I actually kind of, you know, read that at a decent speed, so maybe I'll try and read something else. And it's a fantasy book set in fairy world. Yeah, so it's about this girl called Jude, and she is a mortal living in fairy realm, and fairies are like horrible creatures. Like they're just ghastly, like they're so, I can't explain it to you, they're so horrible. It's been a while since I've jumped back on the like talking about books thing, so forgive me that I don't remember how to do this, and I don't know how to say this without giving anything away. There's a guy called Prince Carden and Jude, and he's horrible and basically tries to kill her on multiple occasions, and she has just, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of like politics and treachery and secrecy and treason and everything under the sun, but it's so good, and I loved just completely going into like a separate world. I really loved Jude. I loved that she wasn't just morally like black and white. There was a lot of like, I just need to like put myself first because of the world I'm in kind of thing. So that was a sick book. At some point I will get to the second book to that series because I really would like to read that. But yeah, I think it's my first Holly Black book that I've read, so props to her. I gave that a 4 out of 5 stars. Next book I don't have with me. This was a anthropology book for my anthropology class that I did, well, module that I did, currently doing. I act like it's over, it's not over. So I just had to read a textbook that my lecturer wrote. So I didn't rate that because I included books that I had to read academically just because I was like, oh, maybe this will make me feel a bit better. Yeah, so I read Mental Disorder and Anthropological Insights, and then another anthropology book that I had to read was actually like a book of like an ethnographic research rather than a textbook, if that makes sense, and that was called Addicted, Pregnant and Poor by Kelly Ray Knight. And yes, I read that because I need to review it for uni for my degree. I do psychology, by the way. That was like emotional. Like, it's Addicted, Pregnant and Poor. It's about women in San Francisco who are addicted to crack and they live in daily rent hotels and they are pregnant, and there's a lot going on. But I mean, from an academic point of view, I think it was so interesting, and I'm glad I picked it as the book I get to review. But yeah, that was like 300 pages and that was intense. Back to fiction books though. I finally read Save the Date by Morgan Matson. Now, as we know, I used to love Morgan Matson. I have a little Morgan Matson / other people stack here. So this is my 5th Morgan Matson book I've read. She's one of my favourite contemporary authors, and I bought this I think last summer to try and get out of my reading slump, and then just never read it. And I lent it to my friend Katie and she read it before me, and she'd always be like, have you even started reading it yet? But I actually really liked it. It's basically about this girl called Charlie, and it's her big sister's wedding. I think there's 5 of them in total, and they all kind of come back home for this wedding. And this book, I really enjoyed it. It takes place over 3 days, which I found really interesting, because you get to the end of it like halfway through and you're like, oh, these 2 people only met this morning. And it's basically about the wedding, and at the start it all goes wrong because it turns out the person that was planning their wedding was a bit mental and everything was like gone wrong. So it's just this kind of frantic rush over these 3 days to kind of get everything sorted for this wedding whilst dealing with family drama. And Charlie's like a girl in high school, like she's got crushes, she like fancies one of her brother's best mates, and there's lots of family drama, and there's a really cute wedding planner's nephew, and there's a really cute dog that ends up being hired, and there's just a lot going on. And at the end there was like a plot twist that I didn't expect, to be fair. Charlie's kind of blinded by this love she has for her family. Like for her family is like the dream, perfect, nothing could ever go wrong. So then when something does go wrong, it's like a lot of cognitive dissonance for her, like she doesn't quite understand how this could possibly be happening. But I really enjoyed this book. We love a good contemporary to like break up the fantasy, you know? So I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read, holy moly, donut shop. That's a TikTok song, stop talking on this. Ember in the Ashes. I cannot sing the praises of this book enough. Oh my good lord, this is my favourite book that I've read so far. This is by Sabaa Tahir. This was what like brought me out of my reading slump. This book is remarkable. 5 out of 5 stars, obsessed with it. Immediately bought the second one. It's going to be here in like a week. I think this is insane. So it's about this girl called Leigh, who is a scholar. You switch between Leigh's perspective and this guy called Elias, and they're living very different lives. And also their paths like cross and intertwine at some point. But basically, Leigh's family get attacked and her brother gets taken, and so she ends up having to kind of find a way to go undercover as a slave basically at this training school to train people for death. Like they train people to kill people, and it's horrible. And so she's basically undercover at the place where they train the people who killed her family, which is obviously traumatizing for her. And she gets like beat up so badly so many times. And Elias is one of the kids at this school, and he is one of like the top, like the best of what he does. But what no one else knows is that he is planning on deserting, which gets you killed basically, because he doesn't want that life, he doesn't want to do it. So I just sat here and explained a plot twist that is on the back of the book, so I'm allowed to explain, but I didn't know this plot twist going into this book, so I'm cutting that bit out. I went into this book not knowing. I hadn't read the back basically, or if I had, I'd read it like a year ago and I didn't remember, so I didn't know what I was going into. And that is how I would recommend that you go into this book, just so that you get the full effect of all of the plot twists, because it meant that I didn't expect what was going on. Even though it said on the back, I didn't expect it because I had no clue. But in summary, this is the best thing since sliced bread, and this is what brought me out of my reading slump. And I sat in my little chair in my little reading corner and just completely like smashed through this in a week, well, a few days. I loved this book, I'm so excited for the next book, like actually so excited. And it's been a while since I've been excited for a sequel. A lot of times I've like read a book, been like, oh that's good, but not been bothered about buying the sequel. I've bought the sequel, I'm ready. Next we have a poetry book that I stole from my sister's room. This is She Felt Like Nothing by R.h.sin. And I had no clue my sister had this. Breathe, Alice. Sorry, I'm breathing because my church is meant to start in 2 minutes and I'm hoping they're late because they normally are, but I know in my luck they won't be. I didn't know she had this, and I follow this guy on Instagram, but I haven't bought any of his books because like poetry books are kind of expensive. And so I saw it and I took it because I'm studying in her room at the minute because she has a desk and I don't, and I'm doing uni work and she doesn't live here right now. She's isolating with her boyfriend. This book, I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, not necessarily because of the literary skill, because a lot of people like in reviewing it have said that like although it's good, it's not necessarily poetry because a lot of it is just like a few words. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars because this is, I'm not going to deep it, we're just going to move swiftly on. This is a good book to read if you've been very confused after a bad breakup or anything like that. Yeah, so this I read this at a time that I was basically just like, I really needed it, and I didn't really know what it was about aside from the title saying she felt like nothing. But it's just trying to remind you that like you're worth it. You're worth it. No, that like you are enough, and it's okay to have a lot of like emotions inside of you, and it's okay to feel what you're feeling and your feelings are valid. It put into words a lot of things I was feeling that I didn't quite know how to voice, and so that's why I rated the book as highly as I did. I read it in one night. Yeah, so this has actually been really important to me. This book has just made me feel very known, is what I would say. So yeah, if any of that sounds like something you'd be needing right about now, then I would recommend this poetry book. Okay, the penultimate book that I read, Circe. This is a Greek mythology book. I just finished it and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And this is, bless you! This is by Madeline Miller. I love Greek mythology, as you, I don't know if you can see. I have a ton. All of these books on this side are Rick Riordan books, who does the Percy Jackson books, and I love all of his books, the Heroes of Olympus books. I did a 24-hour readathon with like 2 years ago, rereading. I love my mum's FaceTime people. I love Greek mythology. I think it's incredible. And so I mean, also the cover's really pretty, and this book has been on my radar for a while. I again kind of went into this not really knowing where the story would take me, but I knew it was about obviously Circe. I know she crosses paths with Odysseus. I didn't really know her background though. I didn't really know what like family she was in, But it's about her being born into a family who kind of hate her basically, and she gets outcast for witchcraft. I've only ever heard of her from the perspective of like, oh, she turns men to pigs, she's horrible, and it was actually so interesting hearing the mythology from her perspective, and like getting to know her so deeply as a character. And also I'd say the world building of this mythology is incredible. The author is a professor of classics, so she has so much knowledge that you can really clearly tell is like so well researched and thought out. I really did love this book. I think it was so interesting. I think me and my friend Katie might try and buddy read her other book called, I think it's A Song of Achilles. If you like Greek mythology, my chat is starting in 40 seconds. What do I do? If you like Greek mythology, sorry, got me stressing. If you like Greek mythology, please give this a go. You get so deeply into the mindset of that character. And it's also so interesting, by the way, being in the mindset of a character who is immortal. What do you do when you're banished on an island by yourself, isolating, but you're never gonna die? Baffling. My church starts.
Good morning, welcome to this week's Sunday check-in. Maybe you don't normally come to church.
I'm gonna watch church and then I'll come back. So it's just worship for a second, which is my favourite part, but I'm just going to get this finished because I've only got one book left to talk about, which I've been reading for a while. I've been reading this book for 2 years. Oh my god. So I started reading this book on the 25th of February 2018. I finished it yesterday, on the 18th of April 2020. Right, stop laughing. The reason being, I've been reading it as an audiobook. I had no clue it had been that long. Dad's grinding some beans. I was reading it as an audiobook, and audiobooks for me aren't like something that I'm like, oh, I'll just listen to kind of pass the time very sporadically, and there was a point where I didn't have space for Audible on my phone last year, so I just deleted it. I listened to the first book, Six of Crows, on Audible as well, and so I was reading Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. I've also not read the other Grecian books. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. Oh my god, it doesn't feel like I've been reading it for that long, because once I started reading it again over the past like week or so, I was about halfway through and I've read 50% in the past week. I've been having a lot of baths and I listen to it when I'm in the bath. I really don't want to spoil it because I think Six of Crows is an incredible book. So it's a duology and it follows 6 kids from the barrel, well, not necessarily the barrel, in Ketterdam. They basically try and pull off this massive heist that's so dangerous, and they're all from very different backgrounds, very secretive. And what I loved about the audiobook is so each chapter is told by a different character, right? But in the audiobook they have different people reading those chapters. So when the chapter is narrated by Kaz, is Kaz speaking, you hear him, it's almost like you're in his brain, and then when it goes to Nina it's a different person, when it goes to Inej it's a different person. It's just incredible. Oh, this is so bad because I really can't tell you anything without spoiling anything. I'll read you the blurb of this. I also have never read this. I've literally bought this for show because I wanted to have it after reading it on Audible, you know? I'll read the back of the first book just so you get the idea. Criminal prodigy Kaz Brecker has been offered wealth beyond his wildest dreams. But to claim it, he'll have to pull off a seemingly impossible heist, break into the notorious Ice Court, a military stronghold that's never been breached, retrieve a hostage who could unleash magical havoc on the world, survive long enough to collect his reward, and spend it. Kaz needs a crew desperate enough to take on this suicide mission and dangerous enough to get the job done, and he knows exactly who. 6 of the deadliest outcasts the city has to offer. Together they might just be unstoppable if they don't kill each other first. Honestly, it's sick. I really need to read the Shadow and Bone trilogy because I love this world. But yeah, so that, my folks, is all of the books I've read. So ignoring Kingdom of Ash, which was my honorary mention, that's 10 books. Look at me go! My plan this year was to read 6 books for the whole year, and it's April and I've read 10, which is very good for me considering last year I read like 4 books the whole year. But yeah, so that is all from me today. If there's any of those books that you guys have also read and you want to chat about, feel free to comment below. Or if any of those you now think you might give a go, you might want to read, or if you have any recommendations for me based off of the books that you've seen that I like, feel free to drop those down below as well. And like and subscribe whilst you're at it. So yeah, this has been really fun and enjoyable, and it's been really nice being back in my little like booktube world with my little bookshelf. Yeah, so I'm gonna go back to my church now. I hope you guys have all had an amazing day. I'm gonna love you and leave you, and I will see you hopefully next Monday with another video. Fingers crossed, because I'm filming this on a Sunday and it needs to be up tomorrow, so just let's hope I'm a bit more prepared for next week. Yeah, love you lots. Bye.